Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking on the latest puzzle by the great zetamath. This is called Shrug. It's got an enormous approval rating, as you might expect, and it's been recommended to us, about 8 times, I believe, so far, so it ought to be absolutely marvellous. And what I love about this is that I can actually see there is a picture in the grid of somebody doing a shrug. I think, these are arms, aren't they? These are zetamath as usual, signing his puzzles. Very, very clever chap. Now look at this. That's going to be the head. I don't know what colour I should make the head. That's the body. That's sort of the bottom of the body. I don't know if our man here or woman has got any legs. I've absolutely butchered that. but that's what they're doing. It's quite clear to me, at least, and I'm looking forward to trying this. One of the things I really like about zetamath's puzzles is they often have incredibly succinct rule sets, and this basically just involves the context of a 10 line, and so it's a very, very short set of rules that I've no doubt leads to an absolutely wonderful solve, and that is typical of the man. So anyway, we'll have a look at this in a moment or two. I have big news though. Big news. The Sudoku event of the year is, I think, going to happen before Christmas, because overnight Phistomefel did write to me with all of the texts that need to accompany his puzzle hunt that Mark and I have been testing. So all I've got to do now is incorporate all of the texts into our software, and we're going to convert it into a PDF, and it's going to take a little bit more testing to make sure that we haven't made any errors in doing that, but I can confidently state now that definitely before Christmas, and hopefully in the next couple of days, we will be releasing the first ever Phistomefel Sudoku hunt for our patrons on Patreon as a Christmas present to you all. Thank you so much for the support you give the channel. We are really, really grateful, and I can absolutely think of no better way than with this present. If you want to get in on it, it's a couple of bucks a month to become a patron, and there's a link under the video as usual. But it's this is going to be something really, really splendid, and I can't wait. But I will say this though, these are Phistomefel puzzles, so if you've been following the channel for a while, please don't expect them to be really, really simple. They are not really simple. They are absolutely magnificent, and a couple of them are very, very hard, as you'd absolutely expect. Anyway, what else do I have to tell you about today? I want to say happy birthday, and I've got a lovely couple of birthdays to do today. Alfred, you've turned 17 today, and I know this, and I know you're based in northern Norway, on a small island called how do I say this? Kvoloya. That's you. I mean, you know where you live. Other people will just laugh at my dreadful pronunciation. But your friend Elias wrote to us, and apparently there is a whole group of 17-year-olds on this island in northern Norway who have got into variant Sudoku, I think as a result of the Miracle Sudoku video. And that is just great to hear. The internet is a wonderful thing. So Alfred, I hope you have a brilliant birthday today with, of course, chocolate cake. And then Xander, from your girlfriend Juliana. And I gather, Xander, that you've just started a university degree in philosophy, and you found that the logic class in your philosophy course reminds you of Sudoku, as well it should, because there is nothing we like better on Cracking the Cryptic than good old-fashioned logic. Other than that, the only other thing to say is more stuff over on Patreon. Of course, we've got the Cryptic Scriptures of the Secret Snake Society. I've got more names for successful solvers for you. These people have solved all of the puzzles, which is an amazing achievement. Matthew Buckley, Kevin Grant, Shane Bowden, Eric Brunther, Eduardo David, Melissa Hernandez, who actually wrote us a lovely email asking us to shout out Shane Bowden, because Shane, Melissa's made friends with Shane over on the Discord server, the Cracking the Cryptic Discord server, and Shane really helped her with hints and sort of trying to talk through the logic for the puzzle hunt puzzle. So that's absolutely brilliant. The Discord server, I think there are 26,000 people now over there, and it's such a good community. So if you are looking for Sudoku friends, that is a good place to find them. Stephen Cole, Clayton Newman, Marcel Helvig, Scott Nakamura, Harrison Stein, Silvio Guitien, Offrey Zachman, Jake and Steve Paltiel, I think, and Jake is only 11 years old, that's amazing, and Nim Bachelor. All of you sent in the correct entries. Very well done indeed. Now let's have a look at Shrug by Zetamath and see what we've got to do today. So we've got normal Sudoku rules apply. Each line must be broken into one or more strings of contiguous digits which sum to 10. And these strings cannot overlap. Digits may repeat freely on a line and even within a sum. So it's an incredibly short rule set. So what does that mean? Let's have a look at this. This V part of the Shrugger's body. So that means those two cells could sum to 10. Let's give them a blueness. And then if they sum to 10, we'd have to make the next string of contiguous digits. Contiguous just means sequential digits in this context. So yeah, so okay, so what you couldn't do is make those two digits sum to 10, because then this cell would be the remainder cell on the line, and that couldn't sum to 10 because we couldn't write 10 into this cell. So if we establish these two cells added to 10, then we would know that those three digits had to sum to 10. But of course the opposite is possible here, isn't it? If we flick this cell round to being blue, you can see those two have summed to 10 and those three have summed to 10 then. So it's a weird rule set, but a very simple one. Do have a go at the puzzle. I cannot recommend Zetamath's puzzles highly enough. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And right, I've got a given digit today. Thank you very much, Zetamath. And I've got to choose where to start. I don't really know. I mean, one thing I noticed about this line, as I was doing that example there, is that this line must be split into two groups of 10s, mustn't it? There's no way of creating three groups of 10 along a 5-cell line, because you always need at least 2 cells to get to 10 using Sudoku digits. So this line is split up into a 2-cell sequence and a 3-cell sequence that add up to 10. And that's going to be the same for any 5-cell line. So the same is true for this, for this, this line is just one set of digits that add up to 10. Because again, we must have at least 2 digits in the sum, and we can't just write 10 into the 3rd cell. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so there's a lot of 5-cell lines. 1, 2. There are a lot of 5-cell lines. That's only a 4-cell line. So this one is interesting. That's either, it could be a single sum adding to 10. If that was a 1, 2, 3, 4, quadruple, that would work. Otherwise it's going to be a domino adding to 10 and then a different domino adding to 10. I presume that that's allowable along 10 sum lines. I'm just sorry, let me just think about that. Yes, I don't need, yes, the strings cannot overlap. So it's not the case that this 7 has to then form a 10 sum. That's absolute nonsense. Right. Okay, no. So we can do this in 2 different ways. It's either a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, or it's 2 sets of 2 adding to 10 each individually. And then in this box, we've got, on this box, obviously, because of the reflection of the Zs, we've got the Shrugger's arms and shoulders on 7-cell lines. So 7-cell lines are going to be, okay, So I know what those two cells add up to because of the secret. Right, so I need to tell you what the secret is. If you don't know it yet, well, I'm about to blow your mind. There is a secret that is useful in any form of Sudoku that involves arithmetic, basically. And the secret is that every single 3x3 box of a Sudoku, every single complete column, every single complete row, contains the digits 1 to 9 once each, and those digits sum to 45. So if I know that those digits sum to 45, but then if we investigate the nature of the Z must be it must be made up of 3 tens, because each 10 must be at least 2 cells. So if I try and make this add up to just if I try and make this add up to 4 tens, that would be a 10, that would be a 10, that would be a 10, and then this would be left over and have to just equal 10 itself, and that's not going to work. And there's no way we can make 7 different digits add up to only 20, because the triangular number for 7 is 28. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 is 28. That's a lot higher than 20, so there is a free knowledge bomb for you there. So this line adds up to 30, but the secret tells us the box adds up to 45. Therefore, those two cells are either a 6-9 pair or a 7-8 pair, and that's interesting. Not just for from this box's perspective, but from this box's perspective, because the symmetry tells us that everything I've just done in this box applies absolutely the same way in this box. So those two squares must add up to 15, and therefore these 4 cells are a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple in row 2. And therefore, does that mean that this is a 4-cell sequence adding to 10? I think it does, because these digits now, by Sudoku, are from the digits 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now, it is not possible for any two of these digits to sum to 10. We can take those two, they won't add up to 10. We can take these two, they won't add up to 10. So how could we split this line into 2 segments that each add up to 10? I could make this digit enormous, that's fine, and this 9 will join a 1 on one side to add up to 10, but then the other 2 cells, whichever they will be, will not add up to 10. So the only way this line's going to work is if all 4 cells, which all have to be different, add up to 10, and the only way that will work is if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. So we have to put 1, 2, 3 and 4 into separate cells on the man's head, and therefore, now that was an example of my mouth writing a check that my brain couldn't cash, because I can't see what the therefore is. I can't see what it is. I can see these 2 cells have to be from 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and maybe that's worth pencil marking actually. 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So does that mean something for those 2 cells? Well, obviously, if either of these was as high as 8 or 9, then those cells would have to be 1s and 2s. Even actually, if either of these is a 7, then these would be a 1 or a 2. But if these were a 5 and a 6, well, oh, I see. No, it's much simpler than that, isn't it? Well, when I say much simpler, it's not. These digits have to be relatively low, because the minimum value of these digits is 5. So I can't make these 5 or higher. If these were 5, 6, 7s, 8s or 9s, we'd be adding 5 to at least 6 and getting to 11, however we did partition the line. So those digits have to be low digits. Oh, and it's right. Ah, of course. Right, I should take my own advice. I started off this solve by thinking about 5-cell lines and saying that they always have to be divided up into a 2-cell sequence and a 3-cell sequence. Right, well what can you not include? This digit cannot be another 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 number, because if it was, whichever one of these is a 3-cell sequence, if it's this one or this one, it's going to have 2 digits in it, which are at least 5. So I wonder actually, I think what we might be advised to do here, well, what I'm thinking is I probably want to keep track of these low numbers. My only question now in the back of my mind is whether I want to treat 5 as a high number or have 5 as a separate colour, a bit like, when was it I did a puzzle? It was the snake puzzle I did a couple of days ago by Directionary, wasn't it, where I had 5 as a purple number. I don't know. I think what I might do is I'll start off by treating 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s as one colour. So they are the colder digits. We'll make those cold. Actually, that's a terrible choice, isn't it? People won't like that colour. Let me look for a different colour. Maybe that blue. Is that a little bit better? Or maybe I could even go lighter than that. That's not too bad, is it? I can see that quite clearly. And then we'll make everything that's not 1, 2, 3 and 4 a coral colour. There we go. So that's fairly distinct, I think. I think people tend to like blue and coral or blue and orange. Those who suffer from colour blindness prefer these. So now, oh, I thought I was going to get these, but I can't get these. I know there's a 5 in one of those, because I've not put 5 in this row yet. So one of these is a 5 and coral, and the other is a blue 1, 2, 3 or 4. So these digits, well, that's getting to slightly excessive levels of pencil marking again, but Mark would approve of it. So, what does this mean is the next question. And the answer is, I don't quite know, but surely I've got to have one. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to continue thinking about 5-cell lines. So this is a very interesting sequence in the middle of this line. Because remember, this line is either going to be something like this and like this, or the other way round. It's going to be a 2-cell and a 3-cell sequence. So how could all of those digits be from our 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colour? How could these all be coral? Well, they can't be, because if they were all coral, 2 of them would definitely be in the same set of numbers that are adding up to 10, either these 2 or these 2. And therefore, once you added on the 3rd number, you would definitely get, you'd break the 10 boundary. So that means that, that means that one of the digits, one of these 3 digits is a low digit, and that's going to be the 3rd low digit in this box. So the rest of these digits are coral. And now those 2 are coral, and that must work the same way. This smile here, it's not really a smile, is it? I don't know what it is, a collarbone. So this collarbone has exactly the same property as this collarbone. It's got 2 highish digits here, so those 3 have all got to be low, because if any one of them was high, we would have, once we divided the line into a 2 sequence and a 3 sequence, one of the 3 sequence would have 2 high digits in it, or the 2 sequence would have 2 high digits in it. And yeah, that's not going to work. So therefore, this is lovely. Okay, so column 5, I've got 4 digits that are all the low digits, so the rest of this column is coral. 7 is coral, because 7 is definitely in my 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 set. So this is high now. Well, when I say high, I mean at least 5. Oh. Oh, okay, so one of these is coral, one of these is low. So whichever one of these is coral doesn't join up with its friend here. Oh, bobbins, I was just about to say that I could conclude something about... I've just had a horrible thought. I hadn't thought of this at all. I hope I haven't used this. But look, that is a possible sequence, believe it or not. Because they could both be 5s. Oh no! Have I done it? Have I used... I didn't think of it until then. For to me, I've been assuming in my brain that if you had a high number at the start of a line, the next number must axiomatically be a low number. But you could have 2 high numbers only if you're crossing a box. So you're crossing from one 3x3 to another 3x3, and only if you're crossing a box on a diagonal. Right, so I'm probably okay actually, because here on the smile I can't have double 5, can I, as I cross the boundary? So it is true to say that if this is high, this cannot also be high, because these would be different high numbers, and 5 and 6 add up to 11, and that's more than 10. So, right, so let's get rid of this. We don't know what these are. Well, we know one of them is low, one of them is high, and that, right, the one of these that's high is in the same box as a high, so they can't both be 5. So it is true to say, right, it is true to say that whichever one of these is coral is not in this one's group. So imagine that was a 5 for a moment. If that's a 5, this, and let's say this is the low digit. If that's the low digit, then it is low, and that would also need to be low. And if this is then high, hang on, I now think I've broken it again. Am I proving that on one side this is double 5 now? Because I'm getting myself confused. I can only have one more low number in row 4. So what I'm thinking is, we know that these have to be divided up. One of them is low, one of them is high. I'm just doing this arbitrarily. And I've made this a 5. Now if I make this higher than 5, it's still the case that on this is the 3-cell string on this side, because this cannot join with this one without making a number that's higher than 10. So this 5 belongs to this one and this one, which means this must be low, because we're adding 5 to 2 different numbers. Now that means this one is high, but by the power of 4 low digits in row 4, this is also high. So this is fascinating, because it means that, well, it means that can't be 5. It also means on one side or the other you have double 5 of this limb. So we've got to get rid of all this. I've no idea how I'm going to pencil mark this, but on one side of this there is double 5. And on the other side, okay, on the other side there is a low digit in one of these cells, and therefore the rest of this row is coral, because one of these is definitely blue and one of these is definitely 5. So one way of dealing with this actually is going to be to write because one of these is blue and one of these is 5, it's fair to do this, which gives me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple in row 4, and these guys are 6, 7, 8, 9. This is beautiful, isn't it? Now, that cell's under pressure now, because that's part of a 3-cell set string that adds to 10. So that's got to be low enough that these digits can be summing these digits must add up to at least 3 if we make them 1 and 2. So that's got to be a 7 or a 6, and there is definitely a 1 in one of those cells. So this is either 1, 2 or 1, 3. That's not a 1. Now, that's coral. I knew that was coral already. That's how I got all this logic in the middle. That was just from the middle column having 4 blues in it. One of these is double 5. How do I know which one? I don't know. Oh, those have got to be coral, because I've got my 4 blues in this box. Okay. I'd love to know which way. I think this is the key, isn't it? Which way round does this go? That's going to give me an awful lot of information. Oh, hang on. This digit, because there's coral on one side of this digit is part of a 3-cell sequence that adds up to 10. It's either this way or this way. So that digit cannot be an 8 or a 9, because once you add 2 digits to 8 or 9, oh no, it could be double 1. Oh, you rotten thing. Wow. Okay, that's not right. That digit cannot be 9, but it could be 8. In the very unlikely situation, in fact, a very specific situation, the only way this could be 8, but it could be 8, is if that's double 1. Now, that probably can't be the case. Oh, I don't know. I can't see why. Let's just label this one up. We know this can't be 5 because we know one of these is 5. Yes, okay, that's a valid pencil mark. Because I know that there's a 5 pair like that. It's fair to say that there's a 5 in one of those. So this is not 5 or 9. So it's 6, 7 or 8. And that means what exactly? Can I do maths on the middle box, actually? That's an interesting thought. I've got an awful lot of real estate in box 5 covered by lines, and I know the sum of these 3 lines as well, because each line sums to 20. Those cells, let's just highlight those cells for a moment, those green cells sum to 60. But we know the middle box sums to 45. So what's that saying about this cell? That's saying that 45, if we were to express 45 algebraically in terms of green, we would say that 45 is equal to green plus the middle cell, that which is not in green but is in the 45. So 45 is equal to green plus this cell minus the cells that are outside the middle 3 by 3 box. Now, what does that mean then? I know one of these is a 5, don't I? So what's the minimum value of green? The green cells, these green cells. What's the minimum value? This could be 5 and 6. This could be 5 and 1. And that could be a 1, 2, 3 triple. So 5 and 6 plus 6 more is 17. Plus a 1, 2, 3 triple is 23. So, what does that mean? 23. So that's 23 minus the total of green, which is 60, which is right. So the middle box is equal to 37 or less, because I can't make these add up to less than 23. So the middle box is equal to 37 plus this cell. So this is at least an 8. That is an 8 or a 9 in the middle position. This is interesting for another reason though, because I can't actually make these digits too high now. Because if I make them, to get to my 37 number, I made these add up to 23. And I did that by minimizing them all. Now I've got 1 degree of freedom. I could make them add up to 24, which would make the green cells in the middle box add up to 36 and put a 9 in the centre to get me 45 in the middle box. But I could not make them add up to any more than that. So this square, I made these a 5-6 pair, so they could be a 5-7 pair, but they cannot involve 8 or 9, and they must involve a 5. So there is definitely a 5 in one of these cells. Now these two, I made a 5 and a 1. Okay, well that's still good. I can get rid of 3s and 4s from here. But I could still have a 2-5 pair. If I have a 2-5 pair here, I have to have a 5-6 pair here. Oh, at the bottom that does nothing, does it? Because my 1 degree of freedom, I know these cells are blue, so my 1 degree of freedom doesn't change the possibility. I introduce 4 as a possibility, but I already knew that these cells were limited to 1, 2, 3 or 4. Right. So what on earth does that mean? It means that it means I've got an X-wing on 5s, because 5s in the middle column now have to be down here, which is mildly arresting. Can I get rid of my green highlighting now? That's confusing me. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so now what? I know that one of these is a very low number now. We can't have 3 and 4. So we must, alright, so in this row, 3 and 4 are definitely in this string of digits. And I'm going to joining them up with relatively modest high numbers. Oh, wow. Oh, zetamath, that is sick. Wow. I've got a digit. Half an hour in, I've got a digit. This is a beautiful deduction, actually. This is a beautiful bit of setting. Right. Let's come back to these two cells, one of which we know is a very low number. Now, this is quite hard to show, but I want to imagine this is the low number, just for the sake of exposition. If this is the very low number, we know that the other side of the line starts with 5. Now, if this side of the line starts with 5 then, and this is a 1 or a 2, what is this digit? And the answer is it's this digit. Because in this box, this low number could not appear in that triple. And we know it's not here because this is 5. So this digit and that digit would be the same number. And if they're the same number, we can represent them as 2x. They add up to an even total. And those 3 digits would be adding up to 10. If you deduct an even total from 10, you get an even number. So that digit, whether the 3-cell sequence is that way or that way, is even. And it's not 7. And now where does 7 go in the central column? And the answer is there. And that is absolutely ridiculous. And totally and utterly gorgeous. So this is now an 8-9 pair at the top of the grid. And what exactly? Well, okay. Well, that line, I know that line adds up to 20. Oh, this is, that's so pretty. That's so simple. Right, now I know that this is an 11. These two cells add up to 11. That line adds up to 20. So those 3 digits add up to 9. And the only way that can work is if they're 2, 3, 4. And that means that's a 5. If that's a 5, we know that's a 5 because we're looking for our double 5. This has become a 1, which must pair off with itself along the line and make this cell an 8. 1 plus 1 plus 8 equals 10. This is a 9, and we have a flurry of activity. I need this squares. These are a 5, 6 pair now. I can label up some digits. Those two become blue. This one is coral. This one is coral. I can well, I'll use the 5 here to disambiguate the 5 and the 6. I see, right, okay. So let's think about how this line must work now. Well, the 6 must combine with a 4, mustn't it? Because if we combine it with anything else, the 3rd digit won't get us to 10. So that's got to be a 4. This is a 2, 3 pair. This is not 4. This is not 4. What's going on? What's going on in the rest of the world? What are these 2 digits then? Oh, 6. Where does 6 go in the middle box now? That's got to go there. So that's got to be 7. Oh, and it's the same again. It's the same thing again. I've got 13 on the line. The line adds up to 20, so those 3 digits have got to add up to 7, so that's got to be a 1, 2, 4 triple, and that's not able to be 4. So this is 1 or 2. The 6 now, the 6 must go with the 4 again. It's the same thing again. I can't make 2 cells add up to 4 using 1s, 2s and 4s, so I must combine the 6 with the 4. I've got a 1, 2 pair, which will go with the 7. So 7 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 is equal to 10. 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. That's not a 4 or a 1. There's a 2, 3 pair. So I've got all my low digits in column 4. This digit is high and is 8 or 9. It's the partner of this one. So that gets coralified. And for our next deduction, we will say that's not a 1. We know there's a 1 on this line, so that's a 1. That gets... oh, both of those could have been blued before, but now I will blue them formally. That's not a blue. But, oh, I see, it can still be coral, can't it? It can still be 5. Okay. What about these digits? What are these? One of them is an 8 or a 9. One of them is a 3. Right. So that cannot be 8 or 9. Because if it was, it would have to partner with this to make 10. And that can't be a 1 or a 2. So that's a 3. That's not a 3. That gets bluified. That digit... oh, actually, do I know what that digit is? I mean, it could be 7, obviously. 7 plus 3 would equal 10. Could it be a lower digit than 7? Like, could it be a 6 with a 1 here? Maybe, actually. Could it be... It couldn't be a 5. It would then... It could maybe be a 3, you know. If it was a 3, this would be a 4. Oh, wow. Okay, so actually, I don't know what that is at... Well, let's pencil mark it. It could be 7. It could be 6. It could be 3. I don't think it can be anything else. So it's 3, 6, or 7, and then that makes it uncolorable. Chromatically vague, we shall describe it as being. Right, are we in bobbins territory now? Perhaps we are. I can see that... that's not 3. Right, there's a 3 here. Because how could there not be a low digit at the start of in this domino? If this was 2 rosy digits, 2 coral digits, they would add up to more than 10, and that's not going to work. So we need a low digit there, which means that's not 3. So this is 6 or 7. I still don't know what this is. It's either 6, 3 and a 1 here, which will put a 1 in one of those 2 cells, or it's 7, 3 and these 3 digits add up to 10. Well, that's worth a bobbins. Oh, well, no, maybe not. Maybe not, because now I know that the 4 blues in row 7 are in those 5 cells, so everything else turns coral. Which means, right, now that cannot be a double 5 situation, because those are not on the diagonal. So that digit is most certainly blue, and it's not 1. So that's 2, 3 or 4. So does that mean... It doesn't. I don't know what this is, do I? Because this... I know that this one, if it's coral, is not part of this sum. But if it was coral... Oh no, hang on, that can't be coral, can it? If that's coral, how do I make this work? Yeah, it's a similar problem, isn't it? Again, I've got to remember, when you've got a 5 line, you've got to divide it into a 2 and a 3. So this digit's ability to be part of a sequence, we know one of these is coral. So if this was coral, it couldn't join up with its friends here. And if it's coral, it couldn't join up with those friends there. So it would be stranded. So this cell is most certainly blue. And it's not 1, and it's not 3. So that's 2 or 4. Which is true and absolutely useless. I know one of those cells must be low, because otherwise it would be double coral and it would add up to more than 10. It's a really cool rule set, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Okay. So we've got 2 choices. 5. I was just thinking I've got 2 choices as to what to think about next. One of which is SUDOKU, which is what gave me the 5. The other is the Zs. I know one of these is 5. I wish I knew which one of those was correct. Now, I've also... Right, here's a little thought as well. In row 3, I've got 5, 6 and 7 as my coral digits placed. I've got 8 and 9 to deal with, but I can't put 8 and 9 on in those cells or in those cells exclusively, because if I do, these cells had to add up to 15, so they need to either be 6, 9 or 7, 8. So if I put 8 and 9 into those 3 cells, that removes both possibilities for my getting to 15 here. So one of these strings is... right, okay. One of these strings is a 1-9 pair. Yeah. Hang on. Is it... I'm just trying to work out. I might be able to say something more concrete about this. Is it possible to say something sensible? Hang on. Right. I think this is right, but I'm not totally sure, so I will now articulate what my brain was then mulling over. So in terms of which one of these three digits, we know one of these digits only is coral. One of them only. So how could it be that one? That's my question. How could it be that one? And if it was coral, we know it would be an 8 or a 9. And the answer is, I don't think it can be coral, can it? Because if it was coral, we know that the other coral digit in this row is over here somewhere. So these two cells then become low digits. And these two together would not add up to 10, because they would be low digits. And once we added in the high coral 8 and 9, we would get a number beyond 10. So that is not coral. One of these two is the coral digit. And whichever one it is, it's paired up with... So that domino adds up to 10, is what we can say. Because once we apply an 8 or a 9 in a 10 sum, we're only joining it up with one other digit. So that is a 10 sum, which means the same must be true on this side by symmetry. So these cells are made up of the 8 and the 9, and their partners for dominoes that add up to 10. Which means that these squares are a 3-4 pair, and they are blue. And that can't be a 1. Whoopsie, can't be a 1. So that can't be a 9. That can't be a 1. So that can't be a 9. And come on. Now, what does that mean? Or is it to do with the 3s and the 4s now? That's the other question. And the answer to that is I don't know. Let me think. One of these is 5 and joining up with a 3 or a 4, isn't it? So in that instance, whichever one of these is 5, let's say it's this one. If that's a 5, it's joining up with this 3 or 4 here, and it's going to put a 1 or a 2 here, which in this case would have to be a 2. What's wrong with that? And then on the other side, you've got to have a low. Oh, there's problems here. There's problems all over the place here. This is very odd. This is very odd. I'm now thinking I might have made a mistake. I don't quite know what I did wrong. But I've got problems here. I've got problems here with the number of low digits I want to put in these boxes. I want lots of low digits. Let me think about this again. If that's 5, that definitely has to be low. So that would be 1, 2, 3, a 4th low digit here. But here, I'd have 2 lows. That would need to be low. I'd need a low here, and I'd need a low here, because if they were 2 high digits, I've broken the puzzle. Is that different the other way round then? If that's 5, what happens? If that's 5, this is low. There's a low here, so I get 1, 2, 3. I get 4 lows. This is low then. I'm going to get the same problem on this side. Oh no, I see. Oh, that's very clever. Wow. No, it's not symmetrical, and that's good. Oh golly, yeah, it's really constrained. It's very hard to see this. It's very hard to see. How on earth am I going to explain this? I don't know. I think I'm going to have to explain it by looking at this box, because this is the box that is very troubled. It's got a lot of difficulties, and it's very important. Actually, this 1 and this 5 are very, very important to why there's a problem in this box. And let me try and articulate it. The problem comes from this digit being low. So forget 5 in this digit. What happens if this is a blue digit? Now, because of this 1 here, these two digits now have to add up to at least 5. We can see that. But I'm saying that this is not 5. That's my argument. I'm saying this is not 5. So these two digits are selected, if you like, from 2s, 3s and 4s. So they add up to at least 5. So how do we make this string of digits add up to 10? Well, the only way, if these are adding up to at least 5, is for this to be 5 or lower. And it can't be 5. So that is a third blue digit in this box, together with one of these, which is a blue digit, because this is either a 1, 9 or a 2, 8 pair. And that is a massive problem for these two cells, which then have to both be high. And they can't be, because these have to add up to 10. They would be different digits, and the minimum they could be would be a 5 and a 6, and they would add up to 11. So that breaks the puzzle. So this all tells us that actually this digit here has to be 5 itself, because it just doesn't work unless it's anything else. And the reason I was very concerned is that obviously there's massive symmetry here between this Z here and this backwards Z over here. So I didn't understand why it was different on this side, but it is different because this cell is able to be a 1, and more importantly, I think this cell is able to be high, which this one could not be. Once 1 had been eliminated from these two cells, this needed, if it was high, it needed very specifically to be 5, and it couldn't be. Here, actually, that might be able to be 6 even. I haven't quite got my head around that. But there's definite leeway on the other side. So this is the 5. That's therefore coral. This is not coral and is not 5. So it is, you've guessed it, blue. Now, the same sort of logic is still relevant. This cannot be a blue digit. Because if it was a blue digit, this domino, there would be 4 blues in the box, because there's a blue in here, and this would be double coral, which would break this 10 sum. So that has to be a coral digit, to which we're adding this cell, which now can't therefore be 3 or 4. So this has to be 5, looks like it is possible. And 6 is possible, isn't it? 6 is possible. So in fact, I just don't know what this digit is. I don't know what either of those digits are. They are both possible. So that's 5 or 6. That digit has got to appear in here. So it's got to be there by SUDOKU. And that means that cell's become a 4, because this is a 1, 2, 3 triple. Good grief. Right, this square, which we know is part of this 10 sum, is also a low digit. So that is a low digit. That's blue. So now we know that the domino here that adds up to 10 is it's a 3 or a 4 and a 6 or a 7. So this is from 3, 4, 6 and 7. Oh, and it's this, right, I see. Oh, is it? Hang on. Do I see? Yes, I do see. Yeah, that's it. That's it. We've done it. We've done it. Right. Let's work out why I think we've done it. I think this has to be 5. I think this might have been obvious for many of you, but it wasn't obvious for me. But I have understood it now. these 3 digits have to add up to 10. These 2 digits have to add up to 10. So we can't have 5 in this pair because it would need another 5 with it. So the only place for 5 in the box actually is there. So my thoughts about that being a 1-3 pair were just nonsense. So this is 5. These squares are the same as their friends over on this side. These add up to 5. And and that's very interesting for the following reason. Come on, brain, think of a reason. Think of a reason, brain. Good grief. 1 in this box, I think is... if we look in this box, 1 is in one of 2 places. So we can pencil mark it. 1's in one of those 3 places, not there by Sudoku. 1 is in one of those 2 cells. Oh goodness, I'm sorry if you're all seeing the next step here. I most certainly am not. Is it? I don't know. I've got nothing here. Oh, 3 is coming out of that. So, that could be it. So now I've got a 3 here by Sudoku, which means that's a 3, that's a 2. I've got an 8-9 pair left in column 4. Wow, that's done nothing. Can I colour my 1s and 2s? Is that what I'm meant to do? It's not impossible that that's a sensible idea. I'm going to try that just for a moment. I'll give this one green and I'll give this one... no, dark green is very bad. I'll give this one a sort of that colour, whatever colour that is. So now that's green. That's the funny colour. So do I know... I can do some more down here. That's green. So that's the funny colour. So I need somehow to disambiguate these 1s and 2s in the middle 3 rows. I don't immediately see how to do that. Oh dear. I know these add up to 5, don't I? Do I? Oh dear. What am I meant to do now? 5 is in one of these 3 cells down here. I just don't see what it is I'm meant to do. Is it really obvious? I fear it might be. I feel like we've done a lot of logic. I suppose there's got to be a green digit in here, hasn't there? Yeah, okay, that's true. There's a green digit in one of those cells. So by the same token, there's a funny coloured digit in one of these 2 cells. Again, it looks like the 1s are trying to do something for me, doesn't it? Oh, that's a point. That can't be a... Oh, gosh, yeah, that's an interesting point. That can't be a 1. So this can't be a 6, because that needed a 1 in this position. That's a 7. Which means that's not 7, which means that's not 8, because those 2 had to add up to 15. That's not 3, 7 anymore. Oh, that's right. This is huge. This has to be a 2. Right, here we go. We're off and running again. Right, this is not a 3-7 pair because of this 7. So it's got to be part of a 3-cell sequence. There's definitely a 3 here. So this one has got to be incorporated into its total to add up to 10. Well, the problem here is this is not 2 low digits, only one. We've got all the 3 low digits there. So one of these is coral, And we're adding 2 and 3 at least to a coral digit to get to 10. So that coral digit must be 5 in order to keep us low enough. So that becomes a 2. That's not, oh, that's not a 2, so that's now not an 8. Right, so this is now, I've now got a 1-2 pair here. That's not a 2. So, and this domino is adding, oh, that's beautiful. This domino is adding up to 10, so that can't be a 7, so that's a 4. So that's a 4, that's a 6. So that's not a 6, which means that's not a 9. And that's going to be very interesting for the following reason. Come on, think of a reason. Oh, come on. That felt important. I know one of these is 5. Do I know which way round these go? Oh, okay, it's the 1 and the 2 that gets the greenification, isn't it? So we can remove the colour from this cell. So we know that this is a 1-2 pair. Oh, by SUDOKU, one of those cells is a 2. And by SUDOKU, one of these cells is a 1. These 2 digits add up to 10. Right, so those 3 digits add up to 10. So how does that work? Do we have to have a 1 in this total? 3 digits adding to 10. Yes, we do. That's a nice thought. Right. If there was no 1 in those 3 digits there that add up to 10, we know they add up to 10 because these 2 add up to 10. So these 3 add up to 10. If there was no 1 in them, they would be 2, 3, 5. It would be the only way of doing it. But the only way that could exist is if this cell here was simultaneously 2 and 3, because these cells cannot be 2 and 3. So there is a 1 on this line, and that 1 has to go there, which is potentially interesting. So that puts 1 in the corner, not 3, but anyway, we get a 1. We get a 1, and that matters because that's not 5 anymore, because SUDOKU applies. We get 5 in the corner. 5 and 6 go in here. 6 is now, nearly on the line. But we can force it onto the line because these 2 digits have to add up to 9. And they're not 1, 8, 2, 7 or 4, 5. So they are 3, 6. And that means we know the order. So that's 6, that's 3. Which means that's apparently 7 now by SUDOKU. This has been put together with just startling cleverness, hasn't it? It's mad how constrained this is. This is now a 2 by maths. 7, 2 and 1 add up to the right number. So that digit is now not 7. These digits are not 7. Two in box 9 by SUDOKU sits in this cell. So that's not right. So that's not 2. So that's not the funny coloured digit. This is the funny coloured digit. So I still haven't done it though. I've still not disambiguated my 1s and 2s. How? 4 can be placed in this box. 4 can be placed in this box. Come on, keep going with this. That's not 4, so that's not 6. 4 is in one of those 2. We still don't know which one. These 2 squares are an 8-9 pair of rosiness. Oh, bobbins. Oh no. Come on. Okay, let's try more SUDOKU. In this box I've got a 6-8 pair that I think have to be that cell and that cell. Which means that these 2 squares have to be a 3 and a 9 in some order. Oh, I can do that. Where does 3 go in this box? It's got to go there. So that's got to be 9, which means that's not 9, which means that's not 6. That's a 3, so that's a 4 now. which means that's a 7, that's a 3. So we can come over this side and get rid of 3s and 7s after all of this. Ah! Oh, of course, right. Now remember, look, those added up to 15. And now 7 is not in this domino added. Well, it's not really a domino, but you know what I mean. These two squares add up to 15. They're not 7, 8, so they've got to be 9, 6. Which means that's 8. Which means that's 9, that's 8, that's 6, that's 8. Oh, these are a 7, 8 pair now. Is this it? Have we broken the back of it? Maybe. Oh, by maths we have. By maths we have. 8 has to go with 2. So we know the funny coloured digit. It's 2. So the green digits are all 1s, which means that's a 9. And the importance of that is that it tells us, I don't know what it tells us. Let's get, oh, should we give all the, maybe we have to give all of the 1s a green tint. No, that's unpleasant. I don't want to do that. I don't want to give all the 1s a green tinge. I want to finish with a puzzle that is coral and blue. So I should give all of the 1s, let's get rid of the 2s. All of the 2s and all of the 1s should be blue. That should be blue. These should all be blue. 2s should be blue. 1s should be blue. 4s should be blue. 7s should be coral. 8 should be coral. 9 should be coral. 6s should be coral. 5s should be coral, actually. Let's be fair, that's got to be coral. Oh, we don't know. That's not got 6 in it anymore, so this is an 8-9 pair. And by maths and Sudoku, if we want to do it, that's a 3. So that's a 3, that's a 5. So that's a 5 of all things. We need a 2 in this row, which has now got to be here. So we now know what those digits are in theory. 3, 6, and 7. Let's put that in. That's definitely not 6. So this digit, that's a naked single. This cell at the bottom's got to be 3, 7, or 8. It sees 7, it sees 3. So that's 8, that's 8, that's 9, that's 9, that's 8. That's 8, that's 7, that's 8, that's 9. Here we go. That square's got to be a 4, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 7, 9 pair, which we can now do. Oh, well, what's getting resolved then? That's got to be a something. 3. These have got to be a 6, 7 pair. So the 7 goes here, the 6 goes here, the 6 goes here, and the 4 goes here. And once we've done our double clickage, we will have solved an absolute beauty again from zetamath. Let's do our double clickage, and then we can admire what we've witnessed. There we go, and then 8 here. That's it. So click tick. Yay! Fabulous. It's quite a long solve actually. 1 hour 8 minutes, and that's basically because there's just so much intricate logic to find. It's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful puzzle, start to finish. Stunning. I can't take too much longer actually talking about it because my lunch is ready. I can hear that. And what did I really like about it? I really liked everything about it. I love the fact it turned into a bit of a colouring puzzle at the start to identify the low and the high digits. But my favourite bit was working out where 7 went in that column, and working out it couldn't go here because this had to be even by this weird parity stuff that was going on. That was superb. So Shrug, I don't think there's anything meh about this puzzle. It is wonderful, and I loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later on for another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.